Today on Hearts of Heroes, incredible plane and crane rescues.
The plane came down over the tops of these trees, and then it belly landed on the center of this 5th green.
My lieutenant said there's 3 people and over 50 dogs on this plane.
And later,
the crane worker was 150 feet out on the jib.
First responders have to act quickly to rescue an injured construction worker 150 feet in the air.
There was no way that he was going to get down there under his own power.
It was pretty intense. I'm not gonna lie, it was intense.
No matter how unpredictable the disaster, true heroes are always ready to adapt and adjust.
Responding to a plane crash is not a call that first responders get every day. But imagine you get that call and then you hear that the plane that's in trouble not only has 3 people on board, but 53 dogs too.
This crash would lead to a highly unusual rescue. But as we've seen in the past, true heroes are trained and ready for anything that comes their way.
The city of Waukesha, Wisconsin sits 20 miles outside of Milwaukee. It's a family and dog-friendly community. In fact, the Humane Animal Welfare Society, or HAWS, often brings in rescue animals from other parts of the country for adoption right here in Waukesha.
We have a lot of relationships with shelters that are not as well-resourced as our shelter is. We will work with these animals here in a well-resourced community to support these pets and get them adopted into homes.
In November of 2022, a twin-engine cargo plane left New Orleans and headed for the HAWS shelter in Waukesha. On board were 2 pilots, 1 passenger, and 53 rescue dogs.
We actually had a team of our staff members that were at the airport waiting.
But that week, the weather made a harsh shift.
We had our first snowfall, so we were dealing with heavy snow at that time.
This was a very snowy day in November, almost a squall-like snow where you couldn't hardly see to drive, much less fly.
As the plane approached the Waukesha airport, it had a mechanical failure and started losing altitude. The pilots made the quick decision to make an emergency landing, but the only open space available was the Western Lakes Golf Club.
About 9 o'clock in the morning, heard a really weird and strange noise, but it was a sound that I will never forget.
The plane came down over the tops of these trees, and then it belly landed on the center of this 5th green. It skidded off the front corner of the green, and the wings were sheared off by those 2 trees. It skidded through the marsh and then ended up coming to rest by those pine trees and the bunker on the other side of the 2nd fairway.
My phone rang and it was my employees that were out on the golf course telling me that a plane had just crashed and it stopped over between 2 and 3.
The fate of those on board was still unknown. 911 calls went out immediately.
911, location of your emergency.
Plane just crashed on the golf course. I don't know if anybody's hurt.
Okay, a plane crashed on the golf course?
Yes.
While a plane crash landing on the course is a colossal undertaking on its own, rescuers had no idea how much more complicated things were about to become.
3 people on board with dogs. They're transporting dogs.
All right, we have assistance on the way.
A disaster of this magnitude required a collective agency action. Responders included fire, police, and multiple animal rescue teams.
Including the Humane Animal Welfare Society, who raced to the crash.
I am driving to something that I am assuming is going to be insanely awful.
The question now was, would anyone survive?
There's a plane down, all of our dogs are in it, there are people in it. I can't imagine this is good.
Coming up.
On the way to the call, you're thinking of who's on the plane. Most plane crashes don't end well.
But first, a winter weather tip for all you dog lovers out there.
When it comes to weathering frigid temperatures, every dog breed is different. One dog's cozy is another's cold. During the winter months, there's some things you can do to make your pet's doghouse a lot more comfortable.
Doghouse heaters and protective insulation or electric floor warmers are all great options to protect your pet from hypothermia or frostbite. Just make sure you review all instructions carefully or have these items installed by an expert.
Remember, one warm gesture can help protect your pet from being left out in the cold.
In November of 2022, a cargo plane carrying 3 people and 53 rescue dogs crashed on a golf course in Waukesha, Wisconsin. It all happened in a frigid winter storm. As first responders were en route, the staff of Western Lakes Golf Club rushed to the crash.
I was expecting just a small little propeller plane, and you can't believe your eyes. I mean, it's parked in the middle of your golf course. It's way bigger than anything you had envisioned.
You could smell the jet fuel. When I got there, I noticed that there was steam coming off of one of the engines, so I sent one of my guys back to the maintenance facility to get every fire extinguisher we had just in case something went up.
Golf course manager Mike Bindle and his staff jumped in to help the people on board.
First thing that we did is we got them out.
You guys okay? I think so.
Incredibly, both pilots and the passenger had suffered only minor injuries.
By this time, I had the 911 operators.
It looks like all the people on board are okay. They were carrying 55 dogs.
When first responders arrived, they saw that the crash had caused a number of crates to bust open.
There were literally kennels laid out. Some of them were in great condition, other ones were a little broken up, and I couldn't even tell you how many dogs were just running around.
I would have never expected that plane to be full of dogs. Not in my wildest dreams.
Firefighters Amber Christian and Al Steitzer endured freezing weather to ensure no dog was left out in the cold.
We took every blanket off of our ambulance to make little swaddles for them and to help keep them warm.
Every time a dog would come up to me, I'd kind of make sure I got a hold of it and gave it to somebody who was able to put it into a kennel or get it into a vehicle into a safe location.
By now, the staff of Humane Animal Welfare Society had arrived.
I get out and I'm like, the plane has no wings. I can't imagine that anything is good. First responders start coming up to me and they're like, oh, I have a dog in my car. I have a dog in my car.
There's absolutely no reason that everyone and everything on board of that aircraft should not have died. They just didn't.
The 2 pilots and passenger were taken to the hospital. Meanwhile, all of the dogs were transported to the shelter to be checked for injuries.
There were some additional medical checks and a lot of evaluating them over the next couple of days.
Miraculously, none of the 53 dogs suffered major injury, but those who witnessed the crash know that this could have been so much worse.
Hats off to the pilots for putting it down where they did.
He avoided the condos just on the other side of those trees. He avoided the interstate, and then there's also a hospital near the interstate.
The fact that it landed where it did is remarkable.
But that wasn't the only remarkable thing that happened that day.
Little did these firefighters know that their lives were about to change forever after falling in love with the very dogs they pulled from the wreckage.
The first responders started calling and wanted these dogs.
The next morning, I went right there and they put a couple puppies in a room and I sat down and he came and he plopped in my lap.
I was more of a cat person before that morning, but I called my boyfriend as soon as we were clear from the scene and I told him, hey, we've got another dog.
I wasn't going to adopt another dog because I had 2 at home already, but this one came running at me and it was just, we were meant to be.
Recently, Sheldon Yellen of our sponsor, Belfour Property Restoration, arranged a reunion for these lucky dogs and their pet parents.
Wow, here they are. Chief Matt, how are you?
Well, how are you?
Great to see you. Thanks for your service, everybody. Okay, who adopted who?
I adopted one. Her name's Ellie. She's a little pit bull mix.
I have Marley, which is a boxer mix.
My new best friend's name is Lucky. He's a pit bull mix.
And well, he is Lucky. And
I have Artemis, Lucky's brother.
Lucky's brother, so we kept it in the family.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, these dogs have never seen each other since the day of that crash. I think it's time to change that up. Let's bring them in. So here we are, full circle, you guys responding to those in need all day, every day. Now our four-legged friends know they too are in good hands with you. Heroic? Absolutely. Thank you all so much. You guys are the real deal.
I'm glad I was there because now I got Marley with a happy home.
To come home at the end of my shift, the second I walk in the door, I have a happy face waiting to give me love and kisses. It's an indescribable feeling other than it's a good one.
I wasn't really even in a position to be adopting a dog when I did, but I can't really imagine what I'd do without him.
Coming up, rescuers rely on training and quick thinking to try to save a man injured on top of a 150-foot construction crane.
The consequences of not doing it right are tremendous.
High-rise construction is a challenging and often dangerous job. When an emergency happens several stories up, first responders face a uniquely complex and daunting task.
Hundreds of feet above the street, one injured high-rise worker would need to rely on both the crew and brave firefighters to try and get him to safety.
White Plains, New York is a bustling and ever-expanding suburb of the Big Apple.
White Plains is a city about 30 miles north of Midtown Manhattan. We have a nighttime population of residents, about 65, 75,000 people. And during the day, it balloons up to about 200, 250,000.
Of course, a rapidly growing city means lots and lots and lots of buildings.
In the last 10, 15 years, White Plains has really exploded with construction. The high-rises are going up. We have the highest concentration of high-rises in Westchester County. There's cranes all over the city, and that's kind of how we anticipated that a crane rescue might be a potential one day.
We've seen an explosion of cranes in the city where high-angle rescue could happen at any moment.
And the White Plains Fire Department prepares for exactly this kind of event. While these types of rescues aren't common, they are complex and they require highly specialized training.
These are called low-frequency, high-risk events.
It will not happen a lot, but the consequences of not doing it right are tremendous. So that's why you have to train constantly for that event.
A large part of that training is in high-angle rope rescues. It's not only the fire department that goes through rigorous preparation. The Emergency Services Unit of the White Plains Police Department also gets rope rescue training.
I'm currently employed with the City of White Plains Police Department, assigned to the Emergency Service Unit. The purpose of ESU is to assist in situations that a normal cop may not be able to handle.
On a warm August afternoon, first responders would put this crucial training into action. That day, a construction crew was working on a high-rise crane, multiple stories in the air.
The crane worker was approximately 150 feet out on the jib. He was working with 3 of his co-workers. The trolley shifted and caught the worker's leg between the steel on the jib and the trolley itself.
And he suffered a compound fracture of the lower leg.
The crew got the man off the jib and onto a safe platform, but he was severely injured and needed immediate medical attention.
Fortunately, members of the crane crew had been trained in emergency first aid.
They splinted his leg so it wouldn't move.
They even went as far as they packaged his leg using duct tape and threaded rod.
But they knew that their colleague needed to get to a hospital, and fast. Coming up.
We know extricating that person is going to be very difficult.
Make no mistake about it, you still have work to do once you're there.
We knew it was time to step up and react.
After injuring his leg 150 feet above the ground, a construction worker was in desperate need of rescue.
I was working here at Station 6 when the call came in, and immediately I knew something was up. Just the tone of the dispatcher's voice told me that this was something unusual.
The initial dispatch was worker hurt up in a tower crane 150 feet in the air.
So we knew that it was go time in that regard. This is the culmination of all our efforts over the years, and we knew it was time to step up and react.
Within minutes, both the White Plains Fire Department and the Emergency Services Unit were right there. But they immediately encountered major obstacles.
The construction project took up an entire city block, making access to the victim extremely difficult.
The first thing was to access this victim up on top of the crane.
We knew we weren't going to get good intel, and we could actually get eyes on him and figure out what was going on.
Getting to the injured man would not be easy. They'd have to climb several stories of ladders, which are enclosed by a narrow and confining safety cage.
Make no mistake about it, you have to be in good shape to get yourself up there because you still have work to do once you're there.
Once they were on top of the crane, the first priority was checking on his injuries.
I did a basic assessment. He was conscious and alert, and although he was in a lot of pain, he was a tough guy. We noticed his leg actually was duct taped with rebar. We decided to keep it on there just because of swelling and possible compound fracture that it could be underneath this duct tape.
Now they had to figure out how to get him down. They weighed their options.
The best case scenario would be we would assist him walking down the ladder. He had a compound fracture in his lower leg. That was not happening. Much easier, less complicated to put a harness on him and lower him down. That was going to be the easiest, safest, most efficient way to get him down.
This would take intricate rope rigging.
Anytime we build a high-angle rope rescue system, the first thing we start with is we look at anchors. The crane mast itself provided that anchoring option. So about 8 to 10 feet up, we anchored, we have clutches, and that controls the descent of the individual being lowered down.
But now there was another obstacle. They couldn't lower him directly to street level where the ambulance was waiting.
This was an active construction site. The base of the crane was about 30 to 40 feet below grade. We would have had to lower him all the way down to the ground and then transverse about 200 yards of an active construction site.
Instead, they would attach a line to a structure nearby, then utilize what's called a tower ladder bucket. That would get him down to the waiting ambulance.
The decision was made to lower him down onto the deck, get him into a Stokes basket, secured, get him on top of the bucket of the tower ladder, and down to the ground.
In the midst of all this chaos, they realized they were being filmed by news helicopters.
We later found out that this was televised nationally, live. I'm glad I didn't know that at the time. That would have made me a little bit more nervous.
Undeterred, they kept their focus and prepared the worker for the precarious journey.
We were putting him over the edge, and I told them point blank, I said, this is gonna hurt. It's not gonna be fun, but we're gonna get you down, and we're gonna get you down safe.
With that, they sent the man over the edge of the crane.
Once he was rigged and I saw Lieutenant Eifler starting to make that edge transition, it was pretty intense. I'm not gonna lie, it was intense.
He gave a lot of waves to the crowd in the helicopter on the way down.
Once he got to that first roof, it was kind of a weight off my shoulders a little bit.
We lowered him right down into the Stokes basket, brought him over to the tower ladder where there were operators in the bucket waiting. Those operators then brought him down to the street, and we landed him right next to the ambulance.
The man was whisked away to the hospital. The high-risk operation went off without a hitch, and in no small part thanks to their dedication and hours of intense training.
I had never done anything even remotely close to that in my life. I knew it could work and I knew it would work, but there's still that feeling that this is the first time you've ever tried something like this. You have to remind yourself that this is what you train for day in and day out. When it comes down to game time, this is the time where we have to react.
When the bell rings, these guys come together. You know, our firefighters come together, we get it done.
At the end of the day, that guy can now sit home with his family and we can go home to ours. If you don't get a tickle out of that, I don't know what would tickle you.
As you just saw, being a first responder is not for the faint of heart. One day you might be rushing into a burning building. The next, you're performing a rescue hundreds of feet in the air.
It's their fearless dedication and unwavering drive to help those in need that make our first responders truly extraordinary. We're glad you watched these heroic stories with us today. And be sure to tune in next time for more Hearts of Heroes.